Well, thanks everyone. It's great to have you guys here. Thanks for your time. We wanted to talk specifically today about what's going on in Georgia and a couple topics that'll be kind of fun, but let's start with interoperability and what's going on in between agencies.
We were at a disadvantage in the law enforcement community because only one agency of 4 agencies in one county used the system. So we were challenged as far as sharing data, but now that every agency in the county is up on Superion, we're able to share that data, map that data, see what's going on across boundary lines, because criminals do not stop at the city limit signs or the county limit signs. They continue on, they cross those boundaries. So we have to be able to share data and be able to investigate those cases. And even now in middle Georgia, there's a lot of agencies in Georgia coming on to Superion, but we're suffering in middle Georgia because Houston County is really the only agency in middle Georgia that has the software. So as a middle Georgia area, we're suffering with data and we're not communicating, we're not sharing that data. But in Houston County, we have seen over the past 17 years as agencies come aboard, we're able to resolve cases and communicate, and that information sharing works best. Our agency uses our crime analyst to analyze data in the entire county. So once he maps that data and sends it out, we can see our data, we can see the county data, we can see the other agencies' data, and then he can take the responsibility to communicate with the detectives and the other agencies and put people together. That way they're investigating the same leads or sharing leads. That way they can come to one solution. And without it, they wouldn't know.
We deployed the switch-to-switch product from Superion, and we added in the city of Alpharetta, which is one of our jurisdictional borders. And I actually didn't know the product had gone live yet. I knew we were in the implementation phase of it. And I was on the way into work one morning, and a car pulled out of, it was a Forsyth County business on my way into work, and a car pulled out in front of me, almost cut me off. Driver's driving kind of erratic, but it was a business that runs 24/7, so I at first thought, well, he's getting off the night shift, he may be a little tired. Ultimately, following his erratic driving, he actually got over into Johns Creek, and I went ahead and did a traffic stop. And then I approached him, started talking to him, realized he wasn't drunk, but there was something going on with him. Didn't seem like he was tired. And so I went back to my car and I logged into Freedom. We had the Freedom product, and ran him by name and date of birth, and got a hit from Alpharetta, a local return out of the city of Alpharetta, showing that he's a heroin abuser, and that he had a suspended driver's license. But it was that information that I would have not had otherwise that pointed me in the direction of what was going on there that day. So we took actions based on that.
We have deputies that work Fulton County has deputies that work throughout the whole county. They're involved in investigations throughout the whole county. We have the marshal's office that's involved in the whole county, the DA's office, and Solicitor General's office. So we have a lot of countywide resources that really are blind to when it comes to seeing what's going on throughout the county. I noticed that they do handwritten requests, we call them, or emails back and forth between some of the agencies around us, and really that's not the best way to capture information on, hey, are you looking for John Doe that lives at 101 Main Street? So they often pull themselves out on a call in those jurisdictions, and they have no idea. They can't run anybody or anything, and they can't relate anything back to us. So that was one of the reasons why we looked at Superion, going, we're kind of the missing link, the countywide agencies. Everybody in the north end of the county is on Superion. Everybody on the south end of the county is on Superion. And we were the missing link throughout the county and our countywide resources. We're ecstatic that we're going in this direction, and the ability to share data without email groups, without texting, it's huge for us. We transfer, just on the south end of the county, we transfer something like 90 calls a day between jurisdictions on the south end. We are just looking forward to doing a CAD-to-CAD interface that allows data to flow in both directions without having to ask the person, okay, what's your name, what's your information, where are you calling from? Just pounding that into them. So we're ecstatic about being part of this team, and it's funny because I look at 20 years ago is when I first met the product, and I swear by the product. So even though I'm a new customer here, 20 years ago, and I sat with a group of folks yesterday that we all helped implement this product 20 years ago, and going, wow, it's amazing that the product has grown to what it is today. And I almost feel like it's like the child that grew along the way, saw their progression, and I'm looking at these screens going, I remember why that started 20 years ago, and making some of those changes back then that are now just evolved into, I feel, a fantastic product.
I think Police to Police is a great program because in Warner Robins we have Robins Air Force Base. So a lot of people from around Atlanta come to Warner Robins, and a lot of people from Warner Robins go to Atlanta for shopping and employment. So it's nice to be able to use Police to Police when they're using the program and we're using the program. And we can look at pawn records, we can create photo lineups, we can share that data and use that information both ways. And that's the great thing about Police to Police, and that's something it is a tremendous need across this country for police to communicate, but to be able to do it within this software, it's important for Georgia, all of Georgia, to be involved in some data sharing system.
On the back side of the program, I think it's wonderful that it's not unusual for me to get a phone call from Forsyth County before they came on and say, hey, Superion called me and said, you're already a customer, can we share your tables for this? One of our agencies in the county recently came on, and one of the things I immediately said was, who does your UCR reporting every month? Let me be able to share with her some of the tips that I use with problem solving every month, because I've already learned those fights. You know, it's not something she should have to recreate. And Superion creates that connection between agencies, even if we haven't had a chance to do that yet. Y'all will put us into touch with each other, and I think that's important too.
Connecting between agencies.
Yeah.
Casey, you're really nodding there. You
Because
have-
everything they say is, I agree with everything. I mean, we've had Statesboro come to us because I think someone told them that, hey, come to me and we'll help you. And they came to our agency and they sat there for 2 days and we went over every module and everything. And I think they went on board. So, and P2P, our officers use it in the road. Our detectives use it daily. It's just great to see it in the switch. What did you call it?
Switch to switch.
The switch to switch. Sandy Springs, you can see if a car was just pulled over 5 minutes ago, and then our officers pull it over, you can see it just like that.
Our borders, criminals do not stop at borders, right? Same criminals that down in Dunwoody, down in Warner Robins, is up in Johns Creek, and definitely up in Forsyth too. I mean, we stop the same guys every other day. Now we're starting to see we're stopping the same guys every other day, whereas before we lived on an island, right? We didn't know. You know, maybe in passing we were talking and said, hey, I stopped this guy last week and said a name, and he may say, I stopped that guy too. But now you know, you see it. You have it at your fingertips in the car.
And it saves time for detectives.
Yeah.
And they don't want to work. They don't have to call around different agencies. Now they see it and can access the information right there live. They don't have to call anybody and hunt for the information.
Well, and that's another point. Detectives now, with things like Freedom, detectives, they didn't have the electronic component. They didn't have access to that. Most agencies didn't put a laptop in the hands of a detective to have out in the field. But now we're looking at Freedom, and they have access to the MCT product in the
Right.
field, in their phone. So, I mean, you talk about technology evolving, that's a great asset. We no longer have every officer coming back to the precinct at the end of the shift to turn in a stack of reports. Right? They're all submitted electronic, they're approved electronic. Most of the time they won't bring their paperwork or anything that has to come in, like say a copy of a citation, will show up the next time they come to work. They don't have to drive by the precinct. You're leaving that asset in the field to patrol the beat instead of pulling him off the beat 30 minutes early to come in, drop off some paper.
Not only efficiency, it's accountability. One of my responsibilities are to review all the reports every morning. So the system's set up where when I review the reports, let's say it's a family violence battery, and the officer didn't make the right decision, and he asked the victim to take their own warrants. Well, I review the report and see it, and I'm able to pull up the photos of the victim, and I look and see visible injury, and you question that decision, and then you send it back to the officer. But without having that information right there when you review the reports, you can't wait because you're moving on. You can't go back and look at anything else. So accountability is just great with the information just coming at you from different ways.
On the response side, and more about efficiency, is we didn't have AVL before Superion, and it's really helped us. We track our bicycle units with Freedom, our boat patrol units with Freedom, and of course the cars with the laptop, and it's really decreased our response time and made more efficient response to calls. Previously, we didn't have AVL on our patrol cars or our bicycle units or our boat patrol units. Now with the laptop and the MCT, we have the AVL recommend the closest unit. a unit may go in service that's a lot closer, though they see where the call's at with a mapping system. The bike patrol unit, we can track those guys now, and then the Lake Lanier in our jurisdiction is the biggest lake in the state, and the response time on that's critical, and that's really cut down because both of our patrol boats are armed with Superion and with MCT. So the response time is really decreased.
We looked at what was around us, the success stories around us, and again, I took my 20 years worth of dealing with a product that I've been very pleased with. We looked at several vendors, and we went out to we put out a process, and during that process we spoke to a lot of people, and it was nice to hear the feedback we got back of the Superion product being, everywhere we went, everybody spoke very positive about it. It was a success story after success story, which was really the decision maker. I mean, if you go out there and go visit a project going, hey, and at the end of the day, you don't want chiefs and directors actually making that decision sometimes. You want, so when my point was, I sent my folks and said, don't talk to a sheriff, no offense, but don't talk to a police chief or sheriff. I said, go in there and talk to the person who actually does the job. The person at records that's actually making the entries and verifying UCR or IBR, the person that's behind the console with a headset on. I want you to actually talk to those folks, talk to the officer in the field that's actually putting in a report. And that's really a decision maker. We really put Superion to the test and said, we're going to ask these rough questions. We want straight answers. And they came back very positive, and they really enjoyed every visit they went to as far as the feedback.
We echo exactly what Joe said. We put out a formal RFP process. We had multiple of your competitors come back. We vetted all that, made site visits to multiple agencies. Everything we heard was ease of use, networking, sharing information, interoperability. Just like she brought up the connectivity of all the agencies. Hey, we can help you. These guys did it already. They have the problem. There's no reinventing the wheel. It was really, and I think one of the last things that we really were attracted to was the whole one solution from CAD all the way to jail, because we're a full service sheriff's office, and that was important for us to have one system that went across the board.
So our process was a little bit different because at the same time we were with a sister city, Sandy Springs. We started up a 911 center. And through that process, our agency, their agency got together and came up with Superion, and that became the CAD, and then also the RMS system for us, and then for Sandy Springs, which has grown. Casey with Dunwoody and Brookhaven, and so several cities have come on board, and all with Superion.
Well, it's a difficult question for us because 17 years ago, I don't really remember why we chose Superion. But I can tell you that I've used the system since 2000 for 17 years, and I've been excited about what's been provided throughout those years. Even today, as we go through the sessions and listen to your vision and what you're going to provide us as a product, it's exciting to offer our citizens the one Robins and our officers. That's the great thing. So I guess the best question for us is why we stayed with Superion. Because we've gotten excellent customer service products. We were discussing with Mike Garner yesterday, and Melanie told me we were under a storm advisory a couple of months ago. And the school system shut down. We were expecting some bad weather. Where Mike Garner personally called and said, hey, y'all having bad weather. Is there anything that we can do for you as a company? That meant a lot to us. It really did. And I can tell you, being involved in a lot of the products and the equipment that we use as a law enforcement agency, he is the only person that I know from any software vendor that has ever called us during a time of a potential crisis. That means a lot to us over the years, the product, the support, and the communication, and just being able to know to y'all and communicate with y'all. It's kept us there, and I'm more excited today than I was 17 years ago starting the system because of what is coming. The great things in P2C that I saw this morning is exciting because we're in an age that everybody wants information really quickly, and they want it easy. And y'all are providing that for us as a company.
I would start out the same way. I came to Warner Robins in 2005. So they had been using the system for several years already. But moving from the software I was at in a previous agency, it was very easy to learn. one of the main things I like is that every module is tied together. If I have to add a name in the names module, I don't have to re-add it, in the incident module. Everything ties together, and that sounds simple, but it makes a difference on the record side of it. I reiterate the support. As Chris said, I'm not trained in IT. That's not my background. But after using Superion and being a system administrator since 2005, I have officers that knew people that come to the department, and they'll say, if you got a problem, ask Melanie, she knows how to fix it. And that's not because I have an IT background, it's because I've spoken to the people at support, and they have taught me how to do things. So, to me, that's phenomenal. That I have the trust and just the belief in the support team. If it's a small issue, I know I can put a ticket in within a couple hours or a couple days, it's going to be addressed. And if I have to come back and make suggestions, those are heard. To me, that makes a difference.
Myron and Shane, I can call them on the phone and get them, and they have taught me, again,
It's amazing.
same thing. I am not an IT person. My degree's in sports and fitness, so they have taught me how to fix error messages that I see, and I can trust myself because they have said, okay, you can do it, just do it. So the support is unbelievable, and I know I can get someone on the phone whenever I want to.
I can tell you, I drive my wife crazy with this, but whenever we go on vacation, before I came to the communications side as a police officer, I always went and tried to exchange patches. I was a big patch collector. And that was always my foot in the door going, it's usually the dispatcher. You end up walking in there wherever you go to. And about 10 years ago, I ended up walking into Newport Beach, California, and went in there and talked to their supervisor. Those are the days when we stopped giving out patches at some point. That was always now my door of, well, can I ask what you guys are using and how you guys are doing? Well, fast forward, last year we were in California. I walked in Newport Beach Police Department, and I talked to this. It just so happened that the same dispatch supervisor was in there, and I said, "What are y'all using?" And well, same here. So I was able to kind of see, 10 years worth of progression of your product. So it's not just a, south or southeast thing. It's definitely that same thing echoes across. I just couldn't afford to go to California when we were doing our RFP. Otherwise, I would have put California as opposed to some of the other folks we went to go visit. But it's echoed not just in the southeast, and they do a lot of information sharing over there, and it's the product kind of speaks for itself.
Go by your neighboring agencies and talk to them. Like Joe said, get with those line level, street level police officers, dispatchers, and get the raw feedback. And everything we got from Coweta County, Johns Creek, Alpharetta, Sandy Springs, everything was very positive from those line level people. It was very important to our decision.
Well, and that's just it. It's not that you call the one agency that likes Superion. It's every agency you talk to likes Superion. It's not, it's not Superion's going, oh, we're gonna route all questions to you. We know you're gonna give a review. No, here's our agency list. Pick one. You're gonna get a good review. Go for it. And that's the way it seems to play out.
My thing is with the generation, everything is technology and data driven. The important thing now is looking at law enforcement moving forward that's data driven with technology. And I can tell you, I have a background in crime analysis. I've been to training, and there is no better product for law enforcement that I've seen that's out there, especially for Georgia customers. In the beginning, we were the only agency in the state that had the software. Now, Superion has grown in Georgia, it's grown across the country, and we are able to tell the difference. Financial crimes cross jurisdictions, so sometimes other agencies mail us reports. Hey, this is in your jurisdiction, the information's there, can you investigate? Well, most of the time, I'll look at the information now, it's a Superion report. They're using the same software we are. 10 years ago, I didn't see that. Today, I see a lot more of it. And that's great to just embrace that technology, but just me as using crime analysis and understanding that community and direction we're going, I don't think there's a better company out there that can provide what we need in law enforcement for the future except Superion, just to be honest with you.
within the last year and a half, we have started a peer support team. And when you said you were looking for stories about heroes, what I thought about on that is it's a new team to help heroes. Within the last year and a half, we have started responding and training a team to do critical incident stress management within officers. And that has become important to me. We've been able to respond as a team to one agency in our area that had 2 officers killed, shot in the line of duty. And to see officers and deputies come in off the field, sit in a room and just talk to peers for 15 or 20 minutes, and the impact that you could see of the weight coming off their shoulders of just a few minutes of saying how that affected them, to the other extreme of responding to or attending a peer critical incident seminar, which is a 3-day training that the state of Georgia puts on for public safety, whether it's law, whether it's fire, whether it's EMTs that are struggling with responding to an incident or years worth of responding to incidents. And the training that they give them on how to handle the stress management, how to handle the self-coping that maybe they've been doing. And actually having a friend tell me that after attending this PCIS, he felt the weight that had been sitting on his chest every day for the last 2 years lift just a little bit, so that he could deal with the officer-involved shootings, the crime scenes that he's had to respond to, and be able to be more like he used to be, laughing more often, enjoying time with his family more often. To me, that's a success. Being able to help heroes and tell them you need to care for yourself and for your brothers and sisters.
The FBI was getting information on ISIS hit list. You know, they would post the information on the internet to hit these particular locations. Many of those locations were on Warner Robins, so what we did is we went in and built alerts on the CAD side and the RMS side, because we respond to many shots fired calls. Now, if we respond to a shots fired call at one of those addresses, that changes the game. So we're able to document that data and use it, so when we respond, we may not send 2 or 3 cars, we might just send all of the cars, because we know that that address has been associated to some type of terrorism threat. So using the system, and I can give you many, many examples of cases where officers go out, they collect the data and fill contact cards, something so simple. They make contact with a person, he's suspicious. The system's designed to collect as much information as it can, clothing. If they document that stuff, we're able to go back, and we've solved armed robberies where officers have made contact 2 hours prior with the suspect, and they see the video or they get the description, and we're able to take that data that's been entered and connect it to an offender and resolve cases. So it's hard to say we solved this life or solved an officer's life, but I can tell you the information that's coming through CAD and the RMS, it makes a difference every day. And we don't always see that difference, but the difference is there.
Thank you so much. Thank you for not just being here today, but for continuing to be great Superior Gun customers in Georgia.